Hello everyone, and welcome back to the woods at Lone Pine Tarot. I hope you're having a magical day or night, wherever you are. For today's pick a card reading, I found myself kind of oddly inspired by the heat waves occurring around the world right now. I don't know where you all are, but where I live, it's been a very sweltering, humid 90 degrees Fahrenheit plus kind of week with wildfire smoke hazing the air. It's just kind of the heat that's been stifling and stagnant, and you just wish a cool breeze would come along and change it, sweeping it all away. Hence, today's reading topic. We're asking Spirit to send a message about what cool breeze of change is coming your way soon, and how the winds of fate are shifting to encourage you there. And hopefully, for those of us around the world enduring these heat waves, well, hopefully, like I said, literal soothing breezes come soon, too. For today's piles, we're choosing with the Fool from 3 different tarot decks, as the Fool is a symbol of fresh starts and new cycles. Over here on the left for pile 1, we have the Fool from the Ostara Tarot. In the middle for pile 2, we have the Fool from the Spacious Tarot. And on the right for pile 3, we have the Fool from the Mindscapes Tarot. And as I always say, please pause here if you'd like a titch more time to choose, but when you're ready and you've decided, your timestamp is waiting in the description below. I'll see you in your reading. Hello there, my wonderful pile number 1. Welcome to your wonderful Winds of Change reading. And of course, as you recall, you were drawn most to the Ostara Tarot as your deck today. So let's put your pile leader right back into the deck. And we're actually going to draw from the mini tarot first to ask from Spirit a little bit more of the context around where this change, wonderful change specifically, is coming from. So, calling on Spirit for the highest best good of pile 1 today. What would you like them to know about this wonderful change? Anything that you would like to tell them about that they would recognize? What area of life this is related to? Maybe even more than one wonderful change is also great, right? Okay, I'm feeling drawn to this one first. We have, the Page of Cups, often a card of surprises, but can be related to a certain person. We'll see what the other cards say in tandem, because tarot is always kind of dependent on the cards around it too, but that's my first impressions. Then we have the High Priestess reversed. Okay, kind of lingering with that mystery or secretive theme that you don't necessarily expect, because High Priestess reversed can mean that we're not following our intuition about something, like we're not expecting it, like I said. But then we have the third card, the Six of Swords. Something about moving on, moving forward to greener pasture, somewhere better. And then last but not least, for the first tarot spread, we have the Eight of Swords, which does actually introduce a little bit of a more neutral to negative energy, but, well, as of course, like I said, read it in tandem. But traditionally, the Eight of Swords does mean feeling kind of trapped in some way, almost like you can see here with the creature in this particular rendition of the Eight of Swords. Feeling kind of snug, feeling like we're kind of stuck somewhere. Really depends on the connotation and the other cards around it, like I said. So, pile 1. Quite straightforward. Spirit is saying, as I already had mentioned before, that this is something that you're not expecting whatsoever. Not just because of the Page of Cups, which I do traditionally read sometimes as a surprise card, but because you have the High Priestess reversed next to it. And as I said before, that's like the feeling of like we should be following our intuition about something, or we could have followed our intuition about something, but at the same time, it's like we're not necessarily listening to it. So something kind of comes across as mysterious, or something comes across as secretive. We're not really necessarily noticing it. It's like a curtain has been pulled over whatever this change is in this thing. So like I said, I technically pulled this spread up here to ask Spirit, like, what's the context for this? Like, where is this coming from in your life? But I don't think any of you are really going to know, okay? It's going to be maybe kind of a grab bag for every single one of you. Of course, we'll see what the other cards say. But I can tell you this, with the Six of Swords and the Eight of Swords, it's something about where you felt kind of trapped somewhere in life recently, hence that Eight of Swords energy. And then the Six of Swords is about like moving beyond, as I said before, to greener pastures beyond it. Okay, we're moving from getting stuck in this little ball or this little bubble, and things are expanding to broader horizons. So actually, some of you I'm hearing intuitively, specifically, this might be related to you having some sort of project or goal where it's been kind of I want to say small beans. I don't know if that really even makes sense. What's a better way to put that? Small beans is kind of silly. For some reason that came forward. It's been kind of like a smaller scope. That's a better way to put it. This project or goal has been a smaller scope so far, and it's like you kind of have maybe going along and you have this one goal or this one scope in mind for it, but with that energy of the Eight of Swords, of that trap feeling and expanding to greater horizons, moving forward with the Six of Swords, I almost wonder if a lot of you might actually find that the scope of that increases and you actually may be following a horizon that reaches even farther than you're expecting. So some of you, this might actually be a good positive change of something blows up a little bit bigger than you expected in a good way, okay? Or something goes farther than you expected in a good way, but we'll see. We'll look at your other cards. We're going to have first the Power of Surrender deck today. Spirit, what are they surrendering with this change? Or maybe some advice to get there too? Thank you. We have, first up, surrender to your soul's path. Okay, I already know where this is going, but I'll read the bottom first. It says, your life's journey has been perfectly designed for your soul's growth. Embrace every lesson and every moment. So pile one, this is related to a life purpose of yours. That's exactly the first inkling I got. I was like, okay, bam, we have a life purpose. Okay, this is something that's very crucial to your path in life, very crucial to your soul purpose. Now, some of you might be expecting it in terms of, like, you already know your life purpose or, like, your soul's path, this goal thing that you have in mind, etc. But some of you are kind of, as I said, especially with that Page of Cups, High Priestess reversed energy, might be kind of blindsided about where this path is going. Because, you know, a lot of times in life, we're going along on one path, walking along, and all of a sudden we come to a crossroads we did not expect. And that's kind of what I'm seeing for some of you with this, is that you get to this crossroads and then all of a sudden, boom, off to the left. And that's kind of, I guess, the unexpected part of this. There's a new winding path off of the current life path or purpose that you're on. Of course, it is meant for you, but it's just that at this point in time, you're not really expecting it. So it kind of winds in a mysterious new way. Let's look at your other oracle card for today, too. We'll kind of put it all together in tandem. From the Woodland Wardens oracle. Lovely Woodland Wardens. Love this deck. All right, Spirit, what else do you want to tell them about this unexpected? Okay, quite fast. We have the Porcupine and the Anemone. Didn't even need to technically pull that one. It just came flying out. Very cute. We have boundaries as the theme with this particular card. Boundaries. So I find it interesting that we talked about before. It's like kind of an expansion of horizons or like a bigger scope than you expected. And now we're having the keyword boundaries brought up. And usually that means, you know, like having boundaries, like, you know, oh, don't tread on me, like don't bug me or whatever. You know, I have this line in the sand, but I'm kind of almost feeling it more intuitively in terms of the boundary of expansion beyond. Like I wonder for some of you, it even ranges beyond in a geographical way. Like maybe you planned just to do something in like one certain area or one state, county, etc., whatever, and then it like goes bigger than you expected, more worldwide or like to other countries. That's kind of one example I'm thinking of. Or it's like expanding boundaries in terms of like, once again, it's just like that increase of scope and things getting even bigger than you expected. And I think too, you're being asked if there's any little piece of advice here so far, but of course we'll see with your other tarot cards if anything else pops out too. But so far, pile one, if there's any little tidbit of advice, your spirit guides and spirit are saying to don't play small. Don't play it small, think bigger than you are currently thinking. Because, I don't know, I mean, you're kind of already I think you're being kind of pushed that way anyway. So even if you don't think bigger, I think you're going to be kind of encouraged that way, spiritually speaking. But at the same time, I don't know. I think if you anticipated a little bit more, which, I mean, you kind of are watching this reading, right? It won't hit you and blindside you as much. But it's a good thing. It's not like a bad blindsiding thing, but I'm just saying. I don't know. They're telling me specifically for you to think bigger sooner with this particular goal. Okay, let's see more about where the goal is going and how it's getting bigger, things like that, as well as advice on your journey. Any other details for this? Thank you, Spirit. We have The Queen of Swords. That might actually represent you in the situation, pile 1, if you identify with being feminine energy, air sign. But even if not, that can mean in general there's energy surrounding this unexpected, wonderful change in terms of it requires a lot of almost tactitional, strategic thinking, okay? Or maybe you already generally tend to be that kind of person where you... And I think that's why you had it at like a certain scope so far. You were like, okay, I'm going to plan it out and it's just going to go from this point A to this point B. So you're like, okay, I already know how to handle this part of the journey. But then it's going to require you to do that even more so in the future here. Because that's what a Queen of Swords does, pile 1, especially when she's upright and she's in her positive element, is that she's someone who takes an internal goal, because she's that internal energy with the feminine energy of her card. And she thinks through it very carefully, and she thinks through it with a high orientation towards being logical. And as I said, it's almost like playing chess in a way. Maybe some of you even play chess. You're kind of aligned with that thinking. Once again, you might be an air sign. Maybe that's why I'm picking up on that. But yes, future planning, things like that. And then we have the Two of Wands reversed. Okay. Yes, you're not planning for it. I know that's kind of redundant. I've said that before because of the Page of Cups and the High Priestess reversed, but they're bringing it up again here. A Two of Wands reversed is... Sometimes it asks you to plan more for something, which I think might be related to that boundaries thing where they said, think bigger sooner. But on top of that, it can mean that there's something coming along that we're not planning for, we weren't expecting. And this specific rendition of the Two of Wands I find interesting because she's literally sitting there in a cage looking at the birds outside of it. Like, it's like freeing herself from a cage that she has been in, which is, once again, kind of redundant, but I like seeing that synchronicity where it's that we're thinking beyond cages, we're thinking beyond boundaries that we were stuck in before. So there's a lot of an element of freedom here too. I wonder if you might get the Devil reversed. We'll see what else pops out, but it's kind of that energy if you're familiar with the Devil and its energy when it's reversed. And then we have Cheer with the Ace of Cups. Wonderful. Blessings flowing. Your cup runneth over. Awesome. There might actually even be two. Once again, that's why I love this deck, the Ostara Tarot, because there's so much vivid imagery with it. There's literally people celebrating with this Ace of Cups. They're literally having what almost looks like champagne, I would say, because of the bubbles, right? So something to be celebrated, something to be happy about. So it might seem scary at first for you guys, especially if you do really align with that air energy of like, you know, oh, I like to plan everything out. Okay, to hear that something's going to go a lot bigger than you're expecting. At least that's how I would feel if I were in your seat, pile 1. I'd be like, oh my god, I didn't plan for this. I mean, it's a good thing because it's greater than you were expecting. But they're saying here with the Ace of Cups that you're going to celebrate it when the news comes. You're going to be like, oh, okay, this is actually like a really good thing. I almost wonder too if it's related to... You know, it's interesting. I'm hearing something about... Let me tap in for just 1 second. It's really odd. They're showing me like bottles being lined up on a shelf. Like you're stacking and collecting these bottles, pile 1. And it's like they're saying... Like you have a lot of things that you've already done on this path that you have not celebrated, hence it's like these champagne bottles on a shelf that you haven't popped open yet. And so it's not just a celebration of one thing, it's like a culmination of celebrating multiple different things that you've been kind of putting away for, like, say, a rainy day. It's just, yeah, it's like this weird shelf of, like, champagne bottles that you haven't opened yet, but they're saying at this point, with this change coming... I know there's just so many intertwined celebrations with this. It might be the successes of like a whole group of people. That might be what the multiple champagne bottles represent, is like the successes of each person involved. Or if this is more of a solo venture that you're resonating with, pile 1, I would say it's like multiple things that you will be lauded for or will find success with this. Okay, so saying something about a whole rack of champagne bottles. And then, oh, we have that champagne brought up again here. But in the Seven of Cups reversed. Yep, so once again, I apologize. There's lots of redundancies with this reading, pile 1. So I apologize if it comes off as repetitive. But it's a good thing, as I always say, when we see these synchronicities, because the Seven of Cups reversed can mean some advice to prod you towards not so much dreaming and going more into the planning of things. Not so much thinking, oh, what if, more into, okay, this is a thing, and now I'm actually going to make tangible progress or steps towards it. It's like I was saying before about when Spirit was asking you, think bigger sooner. That's precisely this energy of the Seven of Cups. It's like, don't confine yourself to this little tiny, like birdcage, like the Two of Wands reverse talks about. Broaden your horizons with this, okay? And once again, we have a party with champagne. I know there might even be literally a party involved. There's a lot of party imagery here in this particular spread, which is always fun, right? But let's see what the last card says, too. And then we have the Five of Wands. But competition. Competition butting heads. But I think it's competition that reflects on you in a very good way, pile one. I think it's competition where you're coming out on top because of all these celebratory cards coming out, and especially of the influence of the Ace of Cups. Now, too, with the snake, I see that intuitively as like a lot of these different things intertwining, almost like that champagne bottle on the shelf metaphor I was seeing earlier, of like so many of these different successes kind of intertwine with one another. So you might not just find progress in one area, but in a lot of these like related areas, like I was saying before, with all these like different things to be celebrated on the shelf with the champagne bottles that you haven't popped open yet. I do just want to ask some final questions here as well, about more like what is the tangible success from this thing when it comes along, as well as actually I'm going to ask how it comes along too. Obviously, I think it's both a culmination of your planning in terms of like the first A to B process that you were expecting, pile one, and of course two, fate, with especially like life purpose. I think that's kind of how it comes about. But let me just grab some extra answers on that. So Spirit, how does this come about? How does this fall into their lap or come their way on their path, this crossroads where there's this unexpected part of it? The Two of Swords, it's something about a choice you make, pile one. And the Four of Swords is reverse, which means something becoming more active. So we have the Sloth and the, almost looks like a goldfish or koi. So a Two of Swords making a choice, and the Four of Swords is rest, or becoming more awake when it's reversed, excuse me. So it's something about an active choice you make. It's an active choice you make that comes along. And Spirit, can you tell me, like, what's the active choice that leads to this? Like, is it a choice they make that's unexpected and it kind of leads to this almost blindsidingly because of that energy? The Page of Pentacles reversed. It's a choice that comes along that you make because you're lacking opportunities in some other area of life, pile one. That's the how. But that actually leads you to this greater success with all this champagne celebration and good competition there. You stand out in the end. All right, and then I do want to ask the final question of where is this technically leading afterwards? Like, yes, of course, we talk about, yeah, it's going to be celebrated. It's going to be great. There's going to be blessings. But, like, what are those tangibly? So we'll ask that. Spirit, what are the tangible blessings or outcomes for this? We have the Ten of Cups reversed, which is typically a negative card, so it would be like a lack of happily ever after, but let's see what else pops out in tandem. The Ten of Pentacles reversed, lots of tens of pentacles, or sorry, tens. I would read multiple tens reversed as not coming to the end of a cycle that you thought was done, which we did talk about that earlier with it, you know, expanding more than you expected. And then we have the Wheel of Fortune, beautiful. So good turn of fate, good luck in your favor. Also, it is fated. That's another card saying that on top of your soul's path card. So pile one. Oddly, normally I would read Ten of Cups reversed as lacking happily ever after or lack of emotional satisfaction. And Ten of Pentacles reversed can mean traditionally, you know, we're having some issues with inheritance, or it's like something like not passed down like it was supposed to. But in this particular situation, I would read it more as see, here's how sometimes I read the Ten of Cups in a reading like this reversed, is that we have a happily ever after pictured in our minds, but a lot of times the happily ever after we come to is not the happily ever after that we expected or planned for. There's so much in this reading for you, pile one, today that's about it's not planned for, which I know is redundant, but I'm kind of seeing that with that Ten of Cups reversed in this particular situation. And I think too, it's something that I'm hearing legacy with the Ten of Pentacles reversed. So normally, I think that's why you might be able to kind of see it if you tuned into your intuition right now, because of the High Priestess reverse. Like, you kind of maybe would expect it, but you just haven't been really, like, looking for it. You haven't been planning for it, like I said. And that's why, like, it, I guess to roundabout way, I'm kind of being confusing here, but what I'm trying to say is with the legacy meaning of the Ten of Pentacles reversed, pile one, it's like something that you should have expected, because it would make sense that that would be like a legacy passed down, or that would be like the next step of something being inherited down in some way. But because it's reversed, it's like you don't necessarily see that typical passing on of the torch. Okay, does that kind of make sense? And then too, as I said, Wheel of Fortune means good turn of fate. Many blessings with this. And as I said too, it's fated for you as well. So they're being a little sketchy. Not sketchy, that's probably not the best word. They're being a little bit obscure about the actual tangible results here of it. But I promise you, no matter how unexpected it is, and I think that's kind of why they're telling me not to tell you with all these cards that are like, oh, you're not, it's going to be a surprise, okay? Either way, pile one, just know that it's a good, positive change in your life, okay? Especially because of that Wheel of Fortune that came out here as part of the outcome. And some of you, it might have something to do with a positive change in your family because of that Ten of Pentacles reversed. I'm also hearing that, like, where it was negative before or where it's negative right now, hence why it's reversed currently, something with family changes around as well. For some of you, not all of you. A lot of you, this is probably going to be more like career or like ambition related, but yeah. So just to summarize, you're on a path to, at least looks like, a greater change, a wonderful change in terms of your life purpose, something you're completely not expecting, comes out of a choice that you make actively because you're lacking opportunities elsewhere. But even though you're lacking opportunities elsewhere, pile one, boom, as soon as you make that choice, then comes all this celebration, all these opportunities for maybe literal champagne popping bottles, right? Or metaphorically speaking as well too, and you standing out in a very good way and broadening your goals and broadening your horizons and expanding your boundaries in terms of what you were initially planning for. Okay, so that's your unexpected change. Wonderful change coming your way, finding you soon. Reading, I hope, number one, it helped you, that it resonated, and also that you liked the reading, of course, too. And if so, please like, please comment, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And thank you so much if you choose to do any one of those three things today as your reading draws to a close here, pile one. And as we say in our tradition in Lone Pine Tarot, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day or your night. And I hope to see you again in the woods someday soon with champagne bottle popping, perhaps, right? All right. Bye, pile one. Hello there, pile number two. Welcome to your reading on the wonderful change that's finding you soon. And of course, as you recall, you were drawn to the Spacious Tarot as your pile leader deck today. Now we'll put this right back into the deck and actually start with the Pocket Edition Tarot today to ask Spirit more about the overall context of where this wonderful change is coming from. Like what area of life, or perhaps too, it might actually be multiple wonderful changes. We'll see what comes out. All right, Spirit, for the highest best good of pile two today, could you tell me more about this wonderful change? Thank you. What wind is shifting in their favor? Okay, first up to bat, we have the Two of Pentacles reversed. Possibly something about where there was imbalance before. We'll keep going. Tarot is always about context and intuition. We have the Six of Wands reversed. Traditionally means a lack of victory, but we'll keep going. Then we have the Six of Pentacles. Look at all these, both Pentacles cards pile two and also sixes. Balance and equilibrium and fairness, especially when it comes to money and resources. And then last but not least, we have the Hierophant with another, well, I guess it's a ram, not technically a goat here, but you have two kind of similar animals here, which I always associate both animals with being stubborn, going forward with goals no matter what stands in our way, and You know, it's interesting. Typically, I would read the Six of Wands reversed as a lack of victory in some way, pile two. But I also sometimes read it, especially with this kind of spread, as something that has been private, something that has not gotten public acclaim. Perhaps not yet, but so far, thus far, it's been kind of a quiet thing. Something that you've been trying to balance out, but maybe have been struggling with, hence the Two of Pentacles reversed as your first card. But you've been stubborn about it, because remember, you have the ram and the goat, okay, or I guess technically, I'm not sure exactly which one is which. I know the curly horn ones is probably a ram, but anyways, tomato, tomato. Being stubborn with it, you've been going through with it, you've been trying to get to that balance. And I find that interesting because you actually have Two Pentacles cards today that are about balance in different ways. Now, Two of Pentacles is usually about, we're trying to juggle things, we're trying to make sure that everything is going well, almost kind of like when you're cooking, you know what I mean? And you have different pots or pans on the stove, and you got to make sure this thing is done for this many minutes, and this thing is done this way for this many minutes. Kind of that feeling. That's a good Two of Pentacles energy kind of metaphor. But you've been struggling. However, Spirit's praising you for your endurance with this, especially, and I will tell you, I think the unexpected changes is that despite you not really getting much public acclaim or so far very visible victory with this so far, you are moving towards equilibrium and things getting better in terms of the balance, and especially with Six of Pentacles in terms of equal distribution of resources. So I wonder if a lot of you, like for example, some of you, it might be like, say, where you work right now, you had like a round of layoffs and you got to keep your job, but unfortunately when layoffs come around, oftentimes a lot more work gets piled on less people because there's less people there to take the workload, right? So it's kind of one of those things where, it's, as one example, you might be like juggling a lot of different tasks because of that. However, it's like this unexpected change in that case, for this particular example, would be something like, okay, now we have this equilibrium with the Six of Pentacles where, okay, now I'm maybe getting paid better for all this work I've taken on. Maybe I get a title change or raise, things like that. Or eventually down the road, in an unexpected way, there is some sort of burden taken off of you where it is more fairly balanced, okay? And on top of that, with the Hierophant now, the Hierophant is a card of traditions, things being the way that they always have been. Also, it can mean authority in some way. I see it like as a very strong leadership card. I'm very curious where this leads. I don't want to say too much yet what the Hierophant means. I want to see what the context is with the Oracle cards and plus your main tarot spread, but we'll return to that. But I think some of you, there might be a leadership opportunity or potential. That's what I'm seeing, intuitively at least. So we'll see what pops out. Okay, Spirit, what do you want to say to them in terms of their surrender card today? Now, this might be advice pile too, or it might be something that is part of the change that is surrendered and it just fell in my lap. Maybe it means that it will fall in your lap too. We have surrender your need to always be right. It says give others the gift of letting them be right. Be yielding, not rigid, and this will help resolve conflicts and improve your relationships. Okay. That adds an interesting twist to everything. Oh, excuse me, there is a cat hair there. I'm going to pull that off. No, thank you. My cat likes to play on my desk sometimes, so if you ever see a black hair, that's usually what it is. But yes, that kind of brings an interesting twist to the balance thing we were talking about with the Six and Two of Pentacles cards, where sometimes too in relationships we have balances and backs and forths. So I wonder if a lot of you, this actually might not so much be related to your job or career, things like that. It might be related to a relationship where there's been an imbalance with that Two of Pentacles reversed in terms of someone always needing to be right or someone always getting their way versus someone else never getting their way, or fights over that too. I wonder if too maybe that's why so many goats came up too, because on top of being stubborn, we all know rams and goats, especially male ones, just because of biology, they tend to butt heads a lot. They fight a lot. That's literally what they do, right? Or I guess a lot of horned animals do that too. Deer as well. But so I think it could be a situation too where you're getting unexpected change in terms of where people have been butting heads. And I wonder if a lot of you, it might have felt as if you were kind of seen as like, not the villain, so to speak, but you were seen as the person who like lost the argument, or like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of you had a really good point, but like for some reason people just weren't listening to you, or the other person, if it was just one person involved, wasn't listening to you. And it led to that imbalance or like that lack of fairness. We'll keep going with your Woodland Warden's Oracle next. We'll see where this goes. Okay, Spirit, what else do you want to say to pile 2 about this? We have the quail and gooseberry with anticipation. Anticipation. I'm going to draw a clarifier on that because I want to ask what is being anticipated here. Spirit, what's the anticipation? Thank you. Although whenever I think of quail, I always think of the keyword humility, being humble. They're seen as creatures that are, they're kind of like ground birds, right? They kind of stick down to the ground a little bit more. They're not lofty. It's also a situation, I think, where your humility will have paid off, is what I'm hearing intuitively because of that association with the meaning of quail, pile 2. But we'll see what else pops out with these cards. We have, well, speaking of humility, we have blue jays. We'll talk about the 2 wands in a second. But blue jays, I don't know. If you guys haven't been around blue jays before, they fight a lot. They squawk a lot. They're actually technically in the crow family, so they're, to my understanding, they're quite intelligent. But they do tend to fight other birds a lot, at least what I've noticed with the blue jays in my yard. And then we have the 2 of wands, which traditionally means something that we're planning for, something that we have been looking for, which once again makes me think of like, I think someone in the situation is like the humble quail, and someone in the situation is like the kind of arrogant blue jay, is what I'm hearing. Let me draw one more as well. What's the anticipation here, pile 2 for Spirit? Thank you. Planning, and then the King of Cups reversed. I'll do one more, because that can be a person in the situation. Once again, King of Wands can be a person as well. King of Wands, King of Cups reversed, and the 2 of Wands. I'm going to tap in for just 1 second, pile 2. Forgive the silence for a second. Because of the 2 of Wands, someone has been like planning for something, I'm hearing. They have been planning for something, but because of the conflict for a lot of you, it's been throwing everything off balance, which we talked about earlier. And on top of that, there's an element of emotional immaturity here with the King of Cups reversed. And then the King of Wands, which is interesting because the King of Wands is usually upright a really good card in terms of someone who's very charismatic. They're very confident. They're very proud of themselves, usually in a good way because it's upright. And that's, kind of like what you think of when you think of a lion, right? Proud, charismatic, confident, seen as like a leader, right? But we contrast that with the humility of the quail versus, like I said, perhaps the arrogance of the blue jay. I'll say this. Whoever in the situation is anticipating winning because of, like, they think they won the first battle or first argument, they might not win the way that they're planning to, is the best way that I can explain what I'm feeling coming in intuitively, okay? And that's also part of this unexpected change that leads to the greater equilibrium or the fairer outcome in the end. But let's look at your main tarot cards here, pile 2. I'm very curious to see what else pops out about the situation, okay? So it's kind of an unexpected wind of change in terms of, I don't know, the victor might not be the victor for long. We'll see. Someone's been a showy peacock, and they maybe ruffled their feathers a little bit too soon. That's what I'm hearing, so... A lot of bird metaphors, too. We'll see. A lot of you might have been seeing a lot of, like, bird-related signs lately. That could be a synchronicity or signs from your spirit guides on this situation. And then we have the star reverse, which means we've lost hope or faith or guidance in something or feeling a lack of direction as well, especially this particular incarnation, because it's, like, kind of makes me think of the North Star with how bright it is. Or maybe perhaps Sirius is the brightest star in the sky, but either way. There's pines, it's a star, I think, of the North Star, right, Polaris? Losing direction, losing our hope or our faith in our path. I mean, this might have also kind of shook your confidence in this pile, too. Maybe someone kind of swayed you from what you were thinking of doing. And then we have the world with more constellations in astronomy here with the, well, literally Leo does pop up again. We have Leo right there. Just like the Lion and the King of Wands with 4 different wands. Let's see, that is Scorpio, Gemini, I believe that's Taurus, and that's Leo. And the world means ending something. A cycle being brought to the end. It's a cycle, too, of something ending where there was a feeling of a lack of hope or faith of it ending before. So part of the unexpected change to pile 2 might have been you thought this would drag on a lot longer, but it's going to probably end a lot sooner than you're thinking, especially with that particular position of where the world is in being like the second card. It's like something happening a bit quicker, right? At least the way I'm reading the main spread today. And then the central card here today is the Guardian, which is the Queen of Swords in most decks. Usually means internal logic, being very smart and tactful about things, speaking well too. It all hinges, as a central card, the situation, all hinges upon whoever is speaking the most wisely and speaking with the most tact. Okay, and then we also have a bird pop up again. Remember I said before blue jays are in the crow family, and then boop, we got a crow right here. Okay, so I don't know. I'll keep going. We'll see what else pops out. We always read tarot in tandem. And then we have the Nine of Wands, which is determination. Fighting it through to the end. And it's interesting before that I said someone thinks they won the battle, but they expect that they won the war too quickly. They might have claimed victory a little bit too soon, because that's oftentimes what the Nine of Wands is about. It's usually a card of being determined and keeping going through with something even when it looks bleak. So if there is a little bit of a piece of advice here, pile 2, although, like I said, this is meant for you as it's, I'm asking what unexpected change is coming, a positive thing. But if there is a piece of advice here so far, it's to keep going even right now if it seems bleak. Because even when I look at this card intuitively with this Queen or Guardian of Swords, we have like this tree almost chopped down. Actually, it looks like 2 of them. There's like 2 stumps. And we might focus on the foreground of like, okay, well, these 2 things were lost, or like this thing that was bigger seems like as if it was felled or ended. However, there's still some other trees in the background that haven't been chopped down yet. Okay, so it's like the battle might have been lost, but the war is not won. Just to summarize that again. So keep going. Keep your determination. And then it ends in, oh, interesting, we have the Devil. Containing something. Sometimes it can be a negative connotation there with the Devil of feeling trapped in some way. So I'm actually going to draw one clarifier on that. Determination, and then we have the Devil is trapping something. However, it might be positive in your situation, pile 2, in terms of it actually like locking something away that's been a negative influence. So we'll look. We'll see what the clarifier is. We have the 2 of Swords reversed, as well as the Ace of Swords, a breakthrough. 2 of Swords reversed usually means having trouble making a decision. There's another unexpected change here, pile 2, and it might be related to the whole situation I've been describing so far, or it might be a different thing. So just keep that in mind, but hear me out. There's a situation here, related or unrelated, where you thought you'd have to lock something away, but there's a breakthrough where you don't have to make that choice. Okay, I'm almost hearing from most of you this is different than the main unexpected change that we've been discussing so far. Some of you, though, it might be related, in which case, in that scenario, it would be like something locked away, or like if you lost an argument, or if you thought like you lost a battle versus another group, or like people that you might be competing with for something, or there's been like a my way or the highway kind of debate over, which way do we take, etc., everything I've described so far. You might have thought you had to like lock away your opinion, or like lock away like your direction with this, or your idea. However, this is basically saying that your idea, if you're feeling that this resonates with the main thing we talked about before, actually might be the breakthrough and the one gone through with in the end, because that's what Ace of Swords typically means. It's like a new idea, a breakthrough of some sort, a new direction as well, new ideas. And it's like the choice, you don't have to make the choice because it's kind of made for you, pile 2, at least in the way of it, like, I don't know, something gets contained. It gets contained, so it allows this new idea or this thing to go through, this breakthrough. Okay? So keep that in mind. I'm trying to think, are there any other questions if I were sitting in your seat right now that I would ask? I'm going to ask just one more thing for you, pile 2. I'm going to ask, what is a final victory coming out of these situations, or one situation? Spirit, what's a final victory coming out of this? Like tangible results, other than what we've already discussed. We have Judgment leveling up, or positive judgment too. The Two of Cups reversed, leveling up or positive judgment in terms of a situation where there was disharmony in a relationship. And overcoming a sadness or hardship with the Five of Cups reversed. Okay, so the tangible outcome of this pile too, yes, I think there might be like outward good things coming, but Spirit is really honing in and focusing on more of a spiritual development tangible result with Judgment especially, but also like the situation leveling up beyond the disharmony and the hardship that was going on before. Okay, it's not necessarily saying that the relationships involved will be patched, but it is saying that it's like there's progress here in terms of overcoming the sadness because of that Five of Cups reversed. Okay, so lots of beautiful things coming out of this situation today. So just remember, things might look bleak, or things might look like they are in the bag. They might seem as if the outcome is already decided, but Spirit is telling you today, pile 2, it's not. So keep being determined, keep going, and you may find that you are justly rewarded. Okay? So that was a reading today on a wonderful change that is finding you soon. I hope, number one, that you liked it, of course, but also it resonated, also that it helped you in some way, and if so, please like and comment and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And as I always say, thank you so much if you choose to do any one of those 3 things or more as your reading draws to a close here. And as we say in our tradition on Lone Pine Tarot, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day or your night full of won battles, right? Or wars at least, if not just the first battle, of course. And I hope to see you again in the woods someday soon. Goodbye, pile 2. Hi there, pile number 3. Welcome to your reading today on the wonderful change that's finding you soon. And of course, as you recall, you were drawn to the tarot deck of Mindscapes Tarot as your pile leader of choice. Now, we'll put this right back into the deck, and we're actually going to start with the mini tarot, just to ask Spirit, excuse me, my voice is scratchy. As I was saying, to ask Spirit more about the context of this wonderful change coming your way. Like, what area of life is it related to? Or it actually might be multiple unexpected changes that has happened in some of the piles today. So we will see what comes out. So calling on Spirit for the highest best good of pile 3 today. Tell us more. Where's this coming from, this wonderful change? Thank you. We have, first up to bat, the Wheel of Fortune reversed, which typically would be negative, but let's see what else pops out. Typically that would mean a bad turn of luck, but that might be the context of where this is coming from that changes for the good, so we'll keep going, we'll see. Next up, we have the Seven of Swords, another intense card today, pile 3. Look at that. We have the Black Widow with the card that is usually about trickery or deception or things not being what they seem in terms of the way they appear or were said specifically, because air energy with swords tends to be about communication, or in terms of the mental plane, in terms of like our perspective on things as well. But it can mean a trickster of some sort too, like I said. Then we have the Death card. Lots of intense cards today, pile 3. Look at this. We have Death with the axolotl. Death is about change. Looks negative on the surface, but death is usually a very positive thing to get upright. And then we have, last but not least, oh my god, look at all these cards today, pile 3. We have another major arcana. Hermit reversed. Okay, I will tell you this. I always, can't talk today. I always explain this in terms of when a lot of major arcana come out in my videos, where I, at least personally as a tarot reader, see lots of major arcana, which you have Wheel of Fortune, Death, Hermit, as this is a pivotal thing occurring. This is perhaps important to your life path, this change. It's also something that is like a milestone of some sort in your path in life. Okay, so just talk about that for a second. But looking at the actual meanings of the cards, though, outside of what suit that they lie in, yes, I don't know what happened recently, pile 3. I think you have just been getting lots of bad luck, especially in a situation where it feels as if someone was being kind of trickstery or betrayed you, or sometimes the Seven of Swords doesn't have to be a person, especially because no court cards came out next to it. Seven of Swords can just be a situation that feels as if something was deceptive about it. It feels as if we were tricked in some way. Like, you thought something was going to go a certain way, and then, boom, you get to the other side, and it's completely different in a negative way. And then, I'm happy to report, though, The death card is what changes this in a positive manner, because death is literally about something going from one phase to the other, changing from one form to the other, just like the literal symbolism of the axolotl is a creature that can grow back its limbs. And axolotl was, I think, an Aztec, technically, god of death and fire and so many multiple things, but specifically he was a god of death, hence why axolotl is here with this particular card, I think, to my understanding. And yes, it's like moving from one world to the other, just as death does, moving beyond the veil. So it's like you're moving to a complete new world with this situation in a positive way. And then the Hermit reversed adds kind of an interesting twist here, because the Hermit reversed is often about something coming to light, coming out of its shell, going from something that is quiet to something more loud, and also too, it can mean in a personal journey perspective, pile 3, that this unexpected change also leads you to come out of your shell or come to light with something, or in terms of like, maybe this bad stuff going on in the recent past has led you to kind of be a little bit like less social, a little bit more introverted, which, you know, introversion isn't a bad thing, but sometimes in life we just kind of get down and things have been going on that's been so crappy that, you know, we just don't really feel like socializing, or we don't really feel like going out of our shell anymore or expanding our horizons in terms of like doing new things. The Hermit reverse talks about changing that. Okay, we're moving from that introspective kind of, you know, I'm hiding in my cave type energy into, now I'm going to move into, I'm out of the cave, I'm ready to explore and adventure again. So we'll see what else pops out. I'm very curious. You have so many intense cards, and I know I said that a lot. I apologize, pile 3, but that's like the main adjective I would use with all these. Just so intense, these cards. But there's good things coming. We'll look at what your surrender card says first. So Spirit, what are they surrendering with this change, and or maybe you have some advice on helping welcome this change in. We'll see what kind of surrender card comes out. We have surrender denial. Accept people and situations exactly as they are without denying the difficulties. Then you can see things clearly and make the best decisions. I wonder if that's maybe some of this past energy here, pile 3. It might have been, and not, you know, blaming you or anything, chastising you. Happens to all of us. We've all had denial before. But these bad things that were happening, it might have dragged on a bit longer than expected because of denial in some way. Maybe a lot of this is this change of understanding more, even beyond the point that you are at now, what was being denied before, in terms of how bad something was, or how bad a certain person was treating you, or whatever the situation might be for you specifically, pile 3. But the beauty is that despite coming from kind of that dark era, I guess, or dark chapter, as it says at the end here, it says, then you can see things clearly and make the best decisions. And maybe that's kind of that hermit energy that you've been in so far, pile 3. Maybe you've already kind of gone into that cave, as I was saying before, and trying to figure out, okay, what's the clarity here? What am I learning from this darker chapter? And how do I want to address and move into this new chapter in life? So if you've already worked through that, pile 3, which I think a lot of you already have, I'm hearing intuitively, this is Spirit basically just commending you for having worked through, like recognizing where denial was playing a role, as well as having worked through the recovery from the bad outcomes that came from this whole deceptive thing and bad luck thing with the Wheel of Fortune reversed, okay? And I will say, I'm also hearing, because I sometimes see the Wheel of Fortune as a card of fate, and when it's reversed, pile 3, oftentimes it means something is not in our fate. At least I'm hearing intuitively for you specifically right now. So if there's any regret that you have about the situation before, in terms of, like, you know, oh, well, I really wanted it, or I wanted it to work out, or I really wanted this to be, basically this is Spirit saying there with that Wheel of Fortune reversed, no, that was not fated for you. However, that doesn't mean that you're not going to have something change for the better, as the Death card talks about. Okay, so we'll keep going. Probably the most dramatic change of the 3 piles today. But dramatic change can be good. We'll see what else pops up. Spirit, what else do you want to say to pile 3 about this? Thank you. And this one right here, we have the Skunk and Magnolia with protection. Okay, and that's the funny thing, you know, initially when we look at skunks, we think, oh, stinky. I mean, you know, that's literally, we think of like, you know, oh, stinky is a skunk, right? But the reason why they do that, as we all know, is because they spray for their own protection. I wonder if the situation that you came from kind of involved a lot of, I mean, it's kind of a weird way to put it, or a lighthearted way to put it, a lot of like stinky things going on. Maybe that's why skunk came out, but also I feel like you might have some regret in the way that you parted or tried to leave this behind, but at the same time, pile 3, this is spirit in that case reminding you sometimes you have to raise a stink, as the skunk does, in order to protect yourself. Okay, so they're basically saying in that case, if you're resonating with that, don't feel bad about the way that you parted, or you ended this, or left this thing behind, or these people, or person, etc., however that resonates with you, because they're saying it was probably most likely done for protection. Also, too, with protection being a key factor here in that card, they might have also been saying, I think, this is what I'm hearing, that it's one of those, to use the old cliche, rejection is divine protection, okay? Just like the Wheel of Fortune reverse talked about being, it wasn't in your cards, it wasn't in your fate to have this thing for a good reason, okay? Hence, rejection is divine protection, so keep that in mind. Sometimes something looks stinky, and we go, oh crap, I really wish that would have turned out different. But sometimes things turn out stinky for our protection, just like with the skunk. Okay, anyways, I'll stop saying stinky. But that's what they do, right? So we're reading symbolism here with that animal that pops out. Let's look at your main tarot spread with the Mindscapes tarot that you chose earlier, pile 3. What else is coming out of this unexpected change, or multiple changes? Some of you had, so might actually be multiple things going on. We'll see. But what else do you want to say about these good winds of change, Spirit? First up, we have strength reversed. Okay. Feeling like we lacked the strength for something. Feeling like we lacked the ability to overcome something, just like that mountain in the way. Feels insurmountable sometimes, especially when it's reversed. Okay, well, let's see what else pops out next to it, because that'll explain more. We have the Hierophant with the, almost looks like, I believe that's technically a sweat lodge, right? With tradition. Things the way that they have always been done. Things continuing on the way that they always have. Sometimes the Hierophant I do also see as a leadership card, too. We'll keep going. I'm going to actually do the whole spread before I expand on it, because, God, look at these cards, pile 3. Remember I said before, like, you have so many major arcana in the first spread, and then boom, you have 3 major arcana in the second main spread. Very important to your life path. Okay, the world is usually about endings in some way, with, I believe that is, almost looks like Machu Picchu, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, actually, that might be, I can't tell, is that Machu Picchu or somewhere in Greece? Looks more like Grecian architecture, but I'll keep going. Then we have a minor arcana for once. We have the 6 of Wands reversed. Okay. And then we have, last but not least, another major arcana. Look at that. Yes, okay. I was right on that with that pile 3. Justice. Okay. All those major arcana. Okay. Yes, very important. Reading the main spread, though. Let me see here. I'm going to also tap in for a second. Apologies for the silence. Yeah, because we talked about how it wasn't meant for you. You were protected from something. And you at the time might have blamed yourself, pile 3, for not overcoming that, hence strength reversed. You blamed yourself for not being able to climb the mountain, because I'm seeing you specifically climbing this mountain, and it looks like you have all the tools. So you're like, I have all the tools for this. There's no way that I can't overcome this. But for some reason, fate, like I said, rejection is divine protection, like I also said, for some reason, it was not meant to be. Like, no matter how prepared you might have been, it wasn't supposed to be your path, pile 3. And then, with the Hierophant, I think you thought it would go the same way because traditionally it always did. Maybe you heard from other people a lot, like, oh, don't worry, this will be really, easy, or it's very, expected, like, it'll work out this particular way or this particular sequence because it worked out that way for them in that order or something along those lines. But with the world, after that Hierophant, it's like that came to an end. Some of you might have even been something where you kind of started or caught on to it after it already kind of had its heyday, or after it already had its like zenith of effectiveness, I'm hearing. Which once again is not your fault. So don't blame yourself for that, pile 3, if you're finding that you're resonating with that. Because I'm hearing specifically, you were meant to go for a new thing. Just like death talks about. You weren't supposed to do the traditional thing. You weren't supposed to do the thing the way things have always been done. Hence why the world, that ending of cycles, is right after the Hierophant. And on top of that, the world being your main card, your heart of the matter, I'm hearing, it's an entire end of a cycle, just like death is here for you. That's why it's so pivotal, and it's so important to your life path here. Now, I will tell you this. In the interim, pile 3, it's going to feel like you lack victory. In the interim, hear me out, okay? Don't run away from the reading. Be like, wait a minute. Hear me out. Because the 6 of Wands reversed is usually we feel like we lack public acclaim for something, or we feel like we lack a win of some sort, okay? We feel like, and this is why I love this deck, because it kind of shows each suit is a progress of something, of a certain landscape, and this one is an orchard, or like apple trees, or well, I guess it's not technically apple trees. Anyways, a tree farm of some sort, right? Or orchard. And this is the part where it's like, okay, we're celebrating. We're having, the wreaths are there, the lights are there, everything is in this full abundance bloom. So it's like the culmination of our work, but reversed, it's like, we didn't quite get there. We didn't get to that acclaim. And as the near future card, you're still going to feel like that for a while. Okay? But that doesn't mean, pile 3, that things are not going to right themselves in the end, because at the very final end here, speaking of Grecian, or actually that might be Roman technically, architecture, very similar, right? We have justice. We have things finally turning out fair in your favor. So I will tell you this. I know it has been intense. I know it has been disheartening. I know it has been difficult. I can see that as a tarot reader with these cards. Especially intense. Remember that adjective. I'm like, this is the summary of your reading today. Is, oh, this is intense. Because of all these major arcana, but also the cards that popped out. But you will be justly rewarded in the end for having gone this way instead, pile 3. So, to summarize, the unexpected change for you is the better path coming out of what you thought was the loss of a path you thought was meant for you. Okay, I will draw some extra cards, because a lot of this reading has been a lot about like the past up until this point, and I acknowledge that here. I think that's what Spirit really wanted to focus on with you today, because I think really, sometimes we go to a reading, pile 3, and we click on the title and we think, okay, this is exactly what I want out of this reading. But sometimes messages come out that aren't necessarily 100% related to exactly what the title is, because that's what Spirit wants to show you, or like share with you and focus on with you today. So to summarize with that, I'm hearing Spirit wanted to console you with this. They wanted to acknowledge, yes, we know this has been very difficult for you. We understand. But that's why this good thing is coming out of what seems like a lack of victory, okay? In order for the good thing to come, you had to end the old cycle that wasn't working for you anymore, just like the world talks about. You had to end the tradition of where it felt like you didn't have the resources or the right tools, or it felt like even though you did have the right tools and all the planning, for some reason it still was eluding your grasp, okay? But you get that justice in the answer. We're actually going to ask about the tangible result of this change. So, Spirit, what's the tangible result of this change, other than, of course, justice, which actually literally, I don't know if I mentioned this before, can mean winning a legal battle of some sort. Okay, I don't know if maybe some legal thing was related to this. If so, the justice upright is a very good outcome for you in terms of legal battles, but what's the tangible goodness? We have the 3 of Cups, okay. Social group, social event. Very cute animals. They're so cute. We have the 3 of Swords reversed, wonderful. The end of pain. The end of the pain, especially where it has been hurting your heart. And then we have the Queen of Swords reversed. Interesting. I'm drawing more clarifier on that. Six of Cups. Okay, so the tangible good things coming out of this, the change after, besides justice, of course. Better energy in social groups. I wonder if a lot of you maybe even left a social group behind or a group of people behind, in which case you are getting a better social group out of this in the end, and also a chance for better social connections, hence the Three of Cups. I also see, in general, they're saying a lot of the pain in your life regarding this is going to fully heal because of that Three of Swords reversed, okay? In terms of the actual tangible effects of it on you are no longer going to be able to hurt you. Okay? And then the Queen of Swords, clarified reversed with the Six of Cups, is usually I would see that as a negative thing, but we asked what's going to come out good that's tangible from this. Let me tap in for this one more second. Be silent for a bit here, apologies. They're saying you're breaking out of a mental paradigm regarding how you view past relationships, because the Six of Cups, pile 3, is often about the past, especially related to siblings and family, but for this particular reading, I'm not hearing that it's 100% locked down to family like the traditional interpretation of the Six of Cups, right? I think a lot of you it might be related to non-family related people, but some of you it might be too, but it's breaking the mental paradigm of the way that we looked at those past relationships in a positive light, that after we go through and we think about it, like that hermit energy of, remember before I was like, you might have been in a little bit of a mental cave for a while, kind of thinking, right? Everything through after this bad thing happened. Well, that comes out of this pile 3. Because the Queen of Swords, as it stands reversed, is usually like, we're not thinking of something clearly, or we're thinking of something a little bit like too ruthlessly, or a little bit too coldly, or there's some situation where there was a person involved. Sometimes court cards can be people too, where they were cold, feminine air sign, kind of ruthless, kind of cold, like I was saying. I think, maybe you gave them the benefit of the doubt, but now it's like you're saying, or Spirit is saying that you're seeing this a lot more clearly without the nostalgia goggles. And that allows these greater relationships for you in the future, hence the Three of Cups, as well as the reduction of pain in the future, because I think you're better primed for not welcoming in situations or people like that again in your life here. Therefore, you have that better protection. I think that's actually a lot about what this was about, pile 3, is in terms of life purpose and all these major arcana that popped out, because holy crap, you had a lot of them, being pivotal in your life purpose and teaching you how to better protect yourself. Okay, so just to summarize with the protection thing at least, don't be ashamed for the way that you've protected yourself, and don't feel ashamed for protecting yourself in the future against further repeats or echoes of what happened here that was unfortunate, right? Yes, you were meant to go on this path. You were meant to and fated to do something else or find new people. But despite that, Spirit is acknowledging the sadness that you had of that not working out in the first place, okay? But just know, pile 3, you're on your path to a greater protected path, I should say. A greater path of things being fairer to you. Better people involved, okay? And great change and the ending of cycles that are just tired and worn out and you're ready to let go of. So kind of lots of different changes today. It's kind of an overarching chapter of your life, I guess. Kind of turned into a new chapter reading as well, but lots of good changes coming out of it, okay? So I hope that reading was helpful for you. I hope you liked it. And of course, number 1, that it resonated. And if so, please like and comment and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And thank you so much if you choose to do any one of those 3 things or more as we wend your reading to a close here. And as we say in our tradition on Lone Pine Tarot, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day or your night. Stinky as things might have been. They'll get better and less stinky, pile 3, okay? So hope to see you again in the woods someday soon. Bye.